it's so simple to do this that it's hard. Because your mind will say, are you kidding me? Just sit there and focus on your breathing? Are you crazy? You know, that's too easy. And then your mind starts talking and saying different things, and oh, you've got this already. No. Yeah, maybe you do for 2 seconds. But it's the idea of it is how long can you go where you can just maintain your attention on your breathing. And when I say breathing, I don't mean, oh, you're conscious that you're breathing, you know, like that you're just breathing, because pretty much a lot of people know that they're breathing. I'm saying, like, can you be conscious of the fact that you can actually sense the breath coming in through the nose, right from the very beginning? Can you be conscious that the breath is now coming in and down to the lower stomach, filling it up, feeling it move through? Can you be conscious that you now switch over, and there's a pause before you switch over? There's a pause before you breathe back in. And that cycle continues. So go ahead, place your attention on that. And the idea is not necessarily to think about it, judge it, do anything other than just be with your breathing. So we're going to take 5 minutes, and I want you to go ahead and just enjoy the process of being fully and completely conscious of your breathing. In that 5 minutes, I will say a few things from time to time, just to refresh the idea of what it is that we're working towards here. Okay, so go ahead and begin. You can do it with your eyes open, or you can do it with your eyes closed. If you find that there's too many distractions with your eyes open and it makes you think, then it's better to close your eyes. Other than being conscious of the fact that you're drawing the breath down to the lower stomach area, you're not really trying to manipulate your breathing any other way. You're just breathing and just fully taking it in and then letting it fully come out. You may find at times that you've lost track of the breathing in some phase of it, whether it's the breathing in or the breathing out or the slight pauses in between. When you become aware of this, just bring your attention back to your breathing. Once again, illuminating it with your attention so that it is fully in your consciousness. Awareness on your breathing, in and out, and the slight pauses in between. can open your eyes. Bring your attention back to the room. So was that a long 5 minutes, a short 5 minutes? What was that?
Yeah, I thought 10, 15.
Anybody else?
It was a good 5 minutes.
Okay.
You seem shorter than 5 minutes.
Yeah, there you go, you see? This is the beautiful thing, is that everybody's experience is definitely individual. For me, it seemed like an hour when I was starting back in martial arts, because all I wanted to do was get up and do martial arts, so it was like, is this it, we're going to end? But when you're resigned to having to do it each class, you just sort of go with it and say, well, it is what it is, so we might as well just do it. What they found out is that this kind of attention on your breathing, where you're just focusing on the breathing in and the breathing out, if you do it for a good spell, a good period of time, 15, 20 minutes, it actually can soothe your nervous system. So it can, you know, the fight or flight response, you know, from the sympathetic nervous system, right? You can decrease that, you can relax. And what will happen is it relaxes your hormones. We are all engaged with our mind, and that creates certain emotions. We have certain reactions from our subconscious mind. We all have affiliations to things in life that are good, bad, difficult. You know, we've all sort of put them in particular slots. And when we're out there and our mind is engaged, something triggers that and we react to it and our nervous system kicks in. A long time ago, our nervous system was more just for protection purposes. You know, if a wild animal was chasing you, your nervous system kicked in and said, probably a good idea to run. You know, and so it started pumping adrenaline into your system to give you a little extra burst of energy. So, you know, maybe you could actually outrun that wild animal, whatever it might be. Back in the days when things were primitive, that's all you had. And usually it didn't work out so well because tigers could run faster. But you still had that burst. It could have been from a fire. It could have been from an adjoining tribe that was attacking and you needed to fight to protect your loved ones in tribes, you know, and so that adrenaline just sort of, you know, took away energy to digestion and things that where it usually is focused and says, no, let's put it into the major muscles. Let's really put the blood flow into these areas, and so if you have to use them, you know, you've got the maximum amount of impact, okay? Great idea. It's a beautiful thing because it usually meant that you had a chance of surviving those situations. You had the best opportunity anyways, that nature, as in the bodies that we have, you could have. Problem with that is that our whole culture has changed. And we're not running from wild animals usually anymore. We're running from cars on the road. You know, we're trying to watch out for them. People, we're trying to watch out for as we're driving. We're trying to watch out for the bills that we have to pay that sometimes can be a little bit more difficult than others. We have to watch out for, you know, problems at work that we are faced with on a daily basis. Problems in our personal life with people that we know, whether it's family, friends, extended friends, associates. I mean, it just keeps coming. You want an adrenaline rush? Turn on the news. Right? You're going to get one every time you watch it because there's always something happening in the world that's terrible. All right? And you're going to react to that. If you are a caring type person, you're going to be like, oh my God, like that's terrible. So this does have an effect because the thoughts that we think create an effect in our body. So when Herbert Benson was studying this and he said, this is amazing. You know what? Instead of calling this Samatha meditation, or as TM called it, mantra meditation, focusing on one thing, I'm going to call it the relaxation response. And we're just saying, follow your breathing. Same thing, different terminology, different name, same effect. Same effect. The corporate world ate it up. They said, love it. It's a beautiful concept. Perhaps we can allow our employees or organizations, whoever was adopting it, we can allow them to take a break, clear their mind, and then get focused again on their work or their personal life. So it made it easier. Okay. So we're going to move into another session of this now. And here's the thing. Even in the few hours that we're here, if you do this a few times, you can get better at it. because the repetition of a few different, spaced repetition segments can actually allow you to feel the difference in a very short period of time. Especially because consciously you are here for that, you really want that. So it's the best way to do this right now is we'll break it up into a few segments, let you do it again, and you focus on the same thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a break after we do it a few more times. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do Vipassana meditation. I'll explain what that is about. But this is the foundation. This is what we need first, okay? So let's go ahead again, and we're going to do it for another 5 minutes. Once again, follow your breathing. You're conscious of your breathing. If anything else enters your mind, just be aware of that and bring your full attention back to your breathing.
minutes that time.
Yep. That's
It's
It's
shorter.
a lot shorter, isn't it?
Shorter.
Yeah,
Really.
way shorter.
It's pretty typical.
It's actually probably about 5.5 by the time I have time. Okay. What was that like?
It was getting cold, the blood pressure was dropping. Yes.
Mhm.
It get cold, the blood pressure was
Okay. Anybody else have any comments they'd like to share about that 5-minute stint?
I found, I couldn't feel my body. I was just aware of my breath. It was awesome.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So there's 2 5-minute sessions, right? And again, we're gonna do it one more time, and then we're gonna move on to another phase. But same thing, just continue to place your attention on your breathing. Let the repetition of this, space repetitive Samatha meditation, and you will find that the results will be there. It just takes some spaced repetition, that's all, okay? So let's do it one more time. Okay, go ahead. And did anybody want to share their experience on that segment?
I found breathing like lower, like if I take a few big breaths, and, your upper body more so. And it just seemed to relax the shoulders a bit and settle in breathing with the abdomen, and it just seemed to sink a lot farther down, let's say. It was much more relaxing. I went by like nothing.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, what Gary said about the shoulders, that's the part I love, is when I can consciously feel the shoulders drop down and they stay down.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I can, throughout the day, I'd say, oh, relax your shoulders, and I feel them drop,
Right.
but I don't feel them coming back up, yet they do. And it's so nice to feel them go down and stay down, and just that tension just escape.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so the interesting thing about this is that while this can alleviate stress and tension because it focuses your mind on one thing, it doesn't necessarily, in the Buddhist tradition anyways, it doesn't, their aim for this type of meditation is what's called enlightenment or satori, or whatever you want to call it. But they don't believe that this meditation will get you there. They just believe it sets you up for the next meditation. So in their opinion, or in some of the different sects that I've worked with, their opinion is that you need to have some sort of framework for your mind. And this is the framework. Because if your mind is jumping all over the place, to do mindfulness meditation, it can be more difficult. And some of the other sects say, well, no, if you just do mindful meditation long enough, you'll get the idea. It'll come to you naturally. Okay? Maybe it will, but I know that a lot of people in meditation, they give up because they get frustrated. So I find that providing a framework so that they can sort of gauge, well, how are you with your breathing? Can you concentrate and just put your attention just on your breathing and be with that just for a while? Because if you can do that, then you're really ready for the next step. If you can't, the next step will be very frustrating because you'll find yourself getting thrown around like a boat on turbulent water. Okay. Now, interesting thing about blood pressure is when you notice that it drops and you start feeling that chill, there have been some studies in the early 80s, maybe late 70s, early 80s, where they went over because the Dalai Lama had just sort of come over from China because of the turbulence over there with the political situation. So he escaped to India and set himself up in Dharamsala. And at that point in time, there were some Western scientists and doctors and stuff, people who were interested in him through what he was talking about, to sort of say, they said to him, give him an option, would you allow us to do some studies on your monks, on your meditating monks? And originally he said no. He said, really, what your Western medicine and what you're trying to figure out, these guys are going for enlightenment. It's not about poking and prodding. But then he had a brainstorm and he thought, wait a minute, what we do is science anyways. That's the whole idea of what we're doing with our meditation, is the science of the mind, the science of for them in their tradition, it was very scientific. So he changed his mind. He said, sure, come on over. And one of the first studies that they did was to some of the lamas that were meditating, they put cold, drenched blankets over them with no shirt on. And they wrapped them in cold blankets, and they went into this meditation. And there's a specific meditation of warming up your interior. And you could see the steam coming off the blankets because they warmed up their body so much that they didn't even feel the cold. And they generated that much heat. And they actually, they hooked up the devices to see how it was actually working scientifically. And it was working. I mean, they were blown away at how just through the meditation they could actually raise their body temperature fairly significantly on a regular basis through meditation. Since then, there's been a plethora of different scientific studies being put into MRIs, EEGs, all kinds of stuff, and a lot of them are showing a lot of the same results, is that when you have your mind in a certain way, you're able to manage it in a certain way, it can definitely affect how your body reacts. So we're going to move on to another gentleman. I'm going to give you a 5-minute break, but we're going to move on to another gentleman by the name of John Kabat-Zinn. And I'm going to tell you a little story about how he furthered mindfulness and really is probably the father of mindfulness in North America because of what he's been able to accomplish and bring it into hospitals and bring it into prisons and bring it into educational systems, and he's really done a lot of good. But we'll take a couple of minutes, 5 at the most. There's a washroom upstairs, there's a water cooler upstairs if you need some water or anything like that. If you want to boil some water, there's a kettle up there too, you're welcome to do that. There's some tea on the counter up there, you're welcome to have that as well. But go ahead and take 5 minutes and just stretch out or do what you need to do, and then we'll come back in 5. We'll see how long this is when I set the timer for you. A 5-minute break.